you'll never see innovation and you'll never see new things which are actually going to help change the face of society.
Hello and welcome to the Attollo Conversations with me, Michael Heyman. It's the interview series shedding light on technology, disruption and what's next for the energy industry. If you're in the business of taking on tradition, then this is the show for you. My guest today is Gavin Poole, whose story has taken him from the forces to the front line of innovation. As CEO of Here East, he oversees some 1.2 million square feet of innovation space. It counts Ford, BT, 2 universities and many tech businesses as customers. He says that the diverse bunch is bonded by the belief that tech makes the world a better place. Gavin, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to start off with a quote, if I may. You said that the thing about engineers is we always break things down into how you solve problems and mitigate the risk. Now, this seems to be a world which is talking a lot more about opportunities than risk. Is the world of engineers still got its place, do you think?
Absolutely. I think actually there's been a resurgence from what I see about the role of engineers who are starting companies, leading companies. And I think people get too caught up about engineers who are always about risk mitigation, reasons you can't do something, someone's got procedures, you must apply it. And that's fine. But actually, if you don't deviate from that and you don't push new frontiers and you don't challenge the norm, you'll never see innovation and you'll never see new things which are actually going to help change the face of society. So from an engineering point of view, and I am an aerospace engineer, I've always challenged that all the way through my working career.
So you see engineers as part of that opportunity culture as well?
Absolutely, and ultimately the engineers are the people who put things together, make things work. You know, whether you've got beautiful architects who are designing and looking at what is the future of workspace or buildings or infrastructure in cities, ultimately it comes back to engineering to actually take those ideas and bring them together. And that's what you're starting to see is a melding together of the great professions. And I think the professions are beginning to rise up again, having been dumbed down for many years.
Now, you're running the most phenomenal sort of home to innovation, a massive sort of cauldron of companies working together, really a sort of a great experiment in innovation in of its own right. What does the future hold? And why does that matter?
Well, I think people look at us, and at first glance, for the uninitiated, they go, "Well, it's just a big bunch of space. They're a property team, and they're just letting space and filling it with a nice marketing story." And that's further from the truth, really, because the team, we don't have a property background. My estates director has got a retail background. My COO and MD of the Innovation Centre has got a telecoms and a legal background, and of course I'm an aerospace engineer. So we're doing things differently. We're challenging the norm. What we do, though, is when we bring companies in, and we really do seek the right types of companies to come in, is we sit down and really understand their business and try and understand, okay, where are you taking this? What are you trying to do which is new? And actually, have you thought about meeting these businesses or this company or this program, and trying to get people involved? And what we shied away from the word campus early on. We thought to university and grad sort of nature. But actually, everybody calls it the campus because it has got that homely community.
Because it's epic in scale, right? It's not the sort of thing you usually associate with the UK, is it?
It is large, and it's 1.2 million square feet, so it is a big place. But actually, now we're looking at going, we haven't got enough space because it's got so many interesting companies in there doing so many interesting things. Like, how can we get this bigger? How can we make more space?
Does that innovation culture that you see, I mean, is that nurtured in any way, or is that just an organic reaction to putting a lot of bright people together?
Ultimately, we'd like it to become organic and self-fulfilling. It takes quite a lot of work because it comes back to that point about engineers and mitigation is what they're seen as. It takes quite a lot of work for people to move into an environment where there should be a freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of exchange of ideas. And so we spend a lot of time sitting down with the leaders of the businesses, putting on events where we can bring the community together and challenge their own thinking and get them talking about what we've just presented to them.
Right, and when sort of a sector like energy, renewables, oil and gas, these sorts of parts of the economy that are thinking about what's next for innovation, what's the learning from Here East, do you think, for these people?
I think it's the application and not knowing the energy sector hugely well, but what I do know is that we've got 2 companies which are scaling within our innovation centre, both in the energy sector, and already they are now in multiple countries with a multiple client base, and don't shy away from innovation. Don't look at, okay, this is how it's always been done before.
But what stalls it when innovation goes wrong? Are there things to look out for?
I think failure is seen as just as that. It's a failure. And we look at it as a way of, okay, right, that didn't work. What did we learn? Let's go this way. And I think that's something I've got from my military background. I used to look at, we used to work with other military services from around the world, and they had a different view on trying things, not quite working, doing something else. Now, often, that was quite challenging when you had those two sort of ideals coming together. But I think from different sectors, don't be afraid of experimentation.
Right.
Let's not call it failure. Let's call it experimentation.
So is that the key? That actually you've got to recast failure?
I think so, yeah. When you look at some of the work we've got going on and the organisations we have, Robotics Institute, I walk in there, they're crashing drones, they're driving things into walls, they're smashing up hydraulic arms, just because they're pushing the frontiers of what could be working. Now, these are things which are quite dynamic, but also down to 2 microns of measurement. So why shouldn't we just experiment in this type of environment, which allows you to take these products out into the world? And I think that's what's really important. Have the space. In the same way we say R&D budgets should be a percentage of your revenue, same way, let people experiment and try new things.
Right, the experimentation culture.
Absolutely.
Gavin Poole, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The optimistic Gavin Poole. His message, there's nothing two-dimensional about failure, so take on the norm and try new things. And here he's proving that if you build a home for innovation, it will flourish. I'll see you for the next edition of the Attollo Conversations.